Hello.
How's everyone?
Come on,
Hey,
come
what's
on
up, man?
this side.
How you doing?
Good.
Right over there, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Do you and Chris know each other?
Patton Oswalt.
No, what's up, man?
Hey, man.
Chris.
How you doing?
And nice to meet you,
Good
man.
morning. Good to
What's going
see you,
on, man?
Good. Hi.
How are you
Welcome.
holding up?
Oh, did you say nice to see you when I said good?
I said welcome.
Oh, and then
but
I
you
said
said good
It's
either
still
way.
sad. Oh my
Welcome.
God.
Good.
What?
Dumb Frankenstein. Good.
I thought you were just complimenting me on my manners. Good,
Yeah.
Sam.
Good.
Good. Greeting.
Good.
Good.
Doing better. Good. Greet people.
Yeah.
I still quote your and I might have even slipped out the other day in conversation when you were talking about Club Soda Kenny, the people's skills of a hornet.
Oh, thank you.
I went to see Meteor Shower, and he was there in line. Club Soda Kenny, Steve Martin's play, Meteor Shower.
Oh, right.
yeah,
right.
and I'm like, what? Kenny, hi, hello.
Well, he works with Amy, so he might have been.
Oh, yeah,
he might be doing security for Amy, or maybe he was actually just there to watch it.
Watch the show.
and didn't realize he could get free tickets. So he
Should
stood
I
li-
put my cans on?
Sure.
That's great, though. It's like, oh, I haven't seen him in a long time. Like, this is like, Kenny, hey, man, how's it going? Hello, Mr. Oswalt.
I am very glad you invited me to the wedding of your daughter, and I hope your first son is a masculine child.
He really is a fucking Luca Brasi idiot. Terrible actor. I'm not happy with the family. Shut up, Luca. How you finished your wife's book too? Your ex-wife's book. How do you say it? How do you your former wife?
Former wife, I
okay.
guess. Yeah. It was 2/3 done with the book. I didn't finish the book because if I had finished the writing, you would have seen very clearly where her writing stopped and mine began because her writing is amazing. What I got was her researcher and then this other journalist. We basically structured what was there into a narrative, and then I wrote an afterword. Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl, wrote the introduction, and then there's a chapter at the very end by the journalist Billy Jensen and the researcher about how they solve these crimes, or at least the crime's still not solved, but how they do like geographic profiling, which is it seems so insane, but they've actually caught people by just mathematically looking at where they strike, and then they triangulate. Well, this must be what they call his anchor point, where he keeps entering from, and it's just...
It's like when Hannibal Lecter wrote on the map. Doesn't it seem too random?
You know what? Yes, that is straight out of the manual. Where do we think he started? Where did he then... and it's also just a very scary look at Southern California in the 70s and 80s when people were just way more lax about, we don't lock our doors, man. Everyone was hitchhiking. And it was as at one point she calls it a predator's paradise.
Yeah.
Because it was just, and they didn't understand like lighting backyards or a street, so you could just get, you could just slip away.
So it drives me crazy. Like, I've always, I want to write a whodunit book or something, but you have to be an expert.
Oh yeah.
Like, you can't just decide like, oh, I like cops. I watch Law and Order. I want to write a cop book. Like, you actually have to know things.
Yeah.
Oh no, even if you I remember that the screenwriter for Die Hard 3 was called in by the FBI because he did so much work researching how they would actually pull off a crime like that they were like, you actually have planned a crime. Like, did you like? They were really angry that the movie basically is a how-to manual on how to rob the Federal Reserve if you wanted to do it.
More effective than Ocean's 11 and finding an earthquake machine.
Weirdly enough, isn't that strange? Yeah. They actually worked out.
Those old serial killers, like Edmund Kemper was a big one.
Sure.
And one girl didn't get killed, or two girls, because they got in his car to give him a ride. Like, it was a
They would
co-ed.
all hitchhike.
And and he saw in the rearview mirror whoever it was like writing down his license plate, and so he knew he couldn't kill the girl.
Yep.
So someone is alive right now, and they may or may not know it because their friend wrote down his license plate, or he would have murdered them.
Yeah.
Are you watching that show on Netflix?
Mindhunter?
Mindhunter. I don't love it.
Not yet. Again, it's hard for me now to watch true crime shows without Michelle because it was amazing having her there as a resource, going, oh, well, see, no, no, they're getting that wrong, or that, I remember one of our earliest dates, we talked about Ed Kemper, because I knew a lot about serial killers, and she knew more about the investigators, so I was like, well, when he killed his mom, he cut her hands off and jerked off with her hands, and he goes, no, he recanted that in a later interview. That's what he said initially to. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, maybe I'd need to shut the hell up.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, she was just like that, so she knew. So it'd be interesting to watch. In fact, I remember we were really, really into making a murderer. And who's the guy's name?
Stephen Avery.
Stephen Avery. Jim, I'm going to quote you on this. I was listening to the show that morning when you guys had been watching it, and you said something about Stephen Avery, and it made me laugh so hard. And I went and I told Michelle, I'm like, because we'd watch and analyze that show, and then I came and go, hey, I was just listening to Jim Norton, and he just said, people keep forgetting that a huge factor in this is that Steve Avery is a boob, and she laughed and went, that is actually a huge factor in this. That sometimes they make it too complex.
Yeah.
Like if we can just start from the reality that this guy's a fucking boob,
Right? Yeah.
that actually explains way more of what followed. Like start from there. The clever that's something that James Elroy said to me once. He goes, what's so amazing about Thomas Harris as a writer, the guy that wrote Silence of the Lambs, is he created something that does not exist and has made everyone terrified of it, which is the diabolical serial killer. When serial killers are caught and put in jail, they don't make handcuff keys and do elaborate escape plans. They get fat, they jerk off to porn, and they find Jesus.
That's exactly it.
But the thing about this book,
I think
though,
you're specifically describing David Berkowitz, by the way.
Exactly. Yes,
And
exactly.
Jim Norton.
But the thing about this guy, though, here's the exception that proves the rule, is he was diabolical. He was held at gunpoint by the police twice and got away.
Who's this?
Kemper?
Kemper.
No. The guy in this book, the Golden State Killer, in my wife's book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark. This guy escaped police several times. There was one time when he committed 50 rapes up in before he started killing people, and
Jesus.
it got to the point where he would hit a house, and then a couple nights later hit the house next door, like just to taunt the police. And so there was a huge community meeting up in Sacramento. The whole town got together, and the cops had a big meeting, and everyone was voicing their concerns. And a guy, and this is a point where he wasn't even attacking women. He would attack couples. He would tie the husband up, make him lie face down on the floor. He would stack plates and cups on his back and go, if I hear any of these hit the floor, I'll kill both of you. You stay still.
What a brilliant idea.
And
I know.
To digress for 1 minute, what a brilliant move.
idea.
Well,
you got to have a lot of core strength too.
This is
Plank.
but they had this huge meeting, and then one of the husbands stood up and said, what really disgusts me is not the police, it's the men in this goddamn community who are not defending their wives. If some guy broke into my house, I would fucking kill him before he did anything. He and his wife were the next victims.
Wow.
So that guy was at the meeting.
He was at the meeting watching. And
Was he killed then?
I don't know if they. I know that he attacked them. No, he didn't kill them.
Okay.
But it's like he made a point to go. Those are
Did he
mine.
rape the woman, though?
Yes, he did, and tied the guy up.
And now, would the husband have to watch, or would he be in another room?
He'd be in another room. But the
So
thing
it's
about
not
it
a true
is
cuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For God's sake.
So he's not a rape cuck.
Yeah. Oh, there's going to be a lot of glass of milk avatars commenting on this thing. But the one thing that there's also a moment when these homicide cops will start talking about this guy, and just like you said, they'll go, "Oh, that is really a brilliant thing to do," and then they got to stop themselves to go, "But he's a piece of shit." Like you do get wrapped up in trying to get inside this guy's mind. You will say things like, "Oh, that was really and then you have to start yourself going, "I'm praising this." Fucking monster, and it takes you down some very weird. It's almost Michelle describes it in the book as you'll start talking about an ex, and you realize you've been talking way too long about him.
Sure.
So you go, but he's a fucking asshole, just so that people don't go, oh, you still like him,
Right?
You know, it's that, and cops do that all the time.
You can
with
still
these guys.
appreciate the if you're looking for somebody, the intelligence of what they did. You can still appreciate.
You have
Or at least
to appreciate it
Yeah.
in order to catch them. Part of the pursuit is not gaining respect for them, but having to swallow your kind of moral indignation and go, okay, that was smart, and because that's part of building who this guy is and figuring him out.
Also, they mimic, right? Serial killers mimic a lot of behavior. So, like, they'll take like a really nice guy and just copy what he's doing and then do that. So it's like I found myself when I was watching those Ed Kemper, for example. I watched the show Mindhunter, but then I watched the real Ed Kemper.
Those interviews,
and I found myself being like, this guy's pretty admirable in a weird way. I know he fucked his mother's head, but it's like I like him. He seems like a good person. Then you have to snap out of it.
Well, the ability to maintain an erection during that. I mean, I don't know if that's what you're admiring.
Okay. See,
I'm admiring his
why would I-
stick-to-itiveness.
Hang on, wait a minute. Sorry, my PR guy's on the phone. He wants. Hang on, wait a second. Yeah, I'm doing Jim and Sam. We agreed on this. Well, Well, listen, prisons buy books in bulk too. It'll help sales. Thank you. Anyway,
when is this book out, by the way? Sorry to interrupt you.
it came out yesterday.
Oh, it did?
And it's out, and it's someone. There's also an audiobook. This actress, and I'm blanking on her name. I know her last name is Zachman. She does a lot of audiobooks. It is a genuinely terrifying book. Beyond it being an amazing memoir about how obsessed Michelle was, she gets into how this guy did what he did, and people have said, "Oh, it's one of those books when." You'll halfway read it and then go, hey, let's check what's our security system like again, and you'll start double thinking what your house is like and what your
it's not a novel.
is. No, it's not a novel. It's a true crime.
Okay.
It's about the worst uncaught serial killer in California history.
Worse
Still
than
remains
Zodiac.
uncaught? Oh, sorry.
Way worse than Zodiac. Woo! 50 rapes, 10 homicides over 2 decades. Starting in Sacramento, and then he kept traveling south, Irvine, Goleta.
So why do you suppose a guy like that doesn't become, and you know, he's not famous the way Zodiac is famous? Is it because Zodiac has a cool name? Is it because there were cool symbols?
It is exactly the reason. And the cops on this case, here's what happened. When he started in Sacramento, he was called the East Area Rapist, or EAR. Then, when he started murdering people moving south, there was an interview with a cop who they talked to in the book. And in the interview, he said, oh, my God, this guy's been breaking in. He goes, I mean, he's the original Night Stalker. Right. Not saying that's his name. He was like, because at the time, the Night Stalker was terrorizing everyone. Sure. He goes, well, this is the and then for some reason, the article called him the original Night Stalker. And so it became ear/ons, which then takes 10 minutes to explain what that means, and it didn't land. Right. So when Michelle wrote a magazine article about him at first, she called him the Golden State Killer, which is just a name. Boom, here's the name. And a couple of the homicide cops were like, this is going to sound really shitty, but thank you for giving him a better name, because it will help keep this case alive.
Sure.
You gave him a better name.
Yeah.
Right.
And that will catch on with people. So, you know, that was also part of it.
Some guys you don't like. Joel Rifkin we knew about because he was killing hookers and upstate. Like Randy Kraft, no one knows who he is.
And he was horrifying.
Yeah, he was a terrible guy.
He was a terrible guy. Or oh God, Gary Heidnik.
I know the name. Where was he? I don't remember where he was.
Gary Heidnik partially inspired Silence of the Lambs because he kept women in pits and would and you would think that because that last name Heidnik, like it sounds creepy, but it just didn't. Yes, and cops will say this is a very dark, ugly thing to say, but you got to give these guys a good name if you want interest in the case to, Zodiac.
People
that
were
is
right
a
about
scary,
them.
Yeah.
I can't believe that, and maybe it's because it was so much longer ago, but I cannot for the life of me believe that Ed Gein is more famous than Albert Fish.
Yeah, exactly.
Albert Fish is a name that it's maybe the most depraved guy ever.
The most depraved guy ever, who would put so many pins and pieces of metal under his skin.
And there's
would,
X-rays of him.
Torture himself.
Yeah.
That when they put him in the electric chair, it initially shorted out the electric chair.
Wow.
And they had to do it. It was just.
Was he a rapist or no? Because I know he killed that little girl, but he didn't. He said she died intact. Remember, he wrote a letter, I think?
No, but he also
Albert Fish.
Didn't he also write a letter to a parent saying, I ate her?
Yeah, there was a story about it.
Yes, but she died intact. I think he meant that he didn't fuck her. That's what I remember about Albert Fish.
I read Harold Schechter wrote a really good book about Albert Fish.
Ted who? Oh.
Where he's saying that he might have killed her intact, but then cut up her body and was traveled by train back home with her body parts wrapped up like meat, and was having had a hard on the train because he was getting off sexually on this, and he knew he was going to eat it when he got back.
Ed Kemper would go hang out at this cop bar all the time and talk to cops about his own case.
Yeah,
isn't that common though?
And because by the way, a big thing that Michelle always said was anyone who applies to be a cop or security guard and is rejected because of failing a psychological test, put a tracking collar around them, because they are probably going to be a serial killer. That is so many of these guys
because they have to be in that world.
Cops, because they want authority.
Right.
And they wanted to be cops so badly. And if they don't become cops, then they become, well, I'll be a community policeman or I'll be a neighborhood watch guy because they want to be this avenger.
Right.
Because in their minds, they're the heroes. So I've been wronged and I am getting just. It's such a sick way.
Yeah, like when you listen to like BTK killers, like interviews,
BTK.
like he just is like so like he's like, you know, these people, like what choice did I have? I had to kill them because they saw me, and it's like it's so warped in their heads.
What did he do, Dennis Rader? Yeah, what did he do? He went off the map for a long time. Came back on.
The New York Times Sunday Magazine wrote a huge article about BTK, and then it triggered him again.
Yeah.
What a dick.
And he got interviewed. And he was like, when there was a murder that had happened, and he was like, because he himself, he was a park ranger or something like that, right?
He was like a community watch guy. He was all these guys were constantly like, and you know, I remember the Catholic church that I went to for briefly. The guy who was that big trader guy that was selling all that stuff to the Russians in D.C. They did a movie about him.
Snowden?
No, not Snowden. The guy back in the day, he's in Supermax in Colorado now. He was a huge. Oh God, I'm blanking on his name. Hansen.
Chris Hansen.
Not Chris Hansen.
The band Hansen.
No.
Zach Hansen.
Something Hansen, but he would write up people in his church for not dressing properly on Sunday, including I think he mentioned my family one time. It was like,
Robert Hansen.
Wow.
Robert Hansen. Like,
I just remembered that, Travis.
They're not dressed. They should be dressed a little nicer. Like he was this guy. They're always policing people.
Yeah. Wow.
So there's that. You know, there's always that feeling too. And although you know, by the way, Ed Kemper now, by the way, if you are a blind person and listen to books on tape, there's a very good chance that Ed Kemper records books for the blind, has recorded more than 600 of them.
Wow.
He has that beautiful speaking voice. So
Does he have a nice voice? Let's hear it. I don't remember.
He does have a very nice, clear speaking voice.
And he continuously turns down his own parole. I heard Kemper that he does not want to come out of prison.
Well, they won't parole him anyway.
But he's like, it's an interesting thing that he won't even hear it. He's like, I cannot be released
because he doesn't want to hear no.
Charles Manson, I think, for his first parole in the 60s, before he came out, he begged them not to let him out. He said, "I'm way better in here."
It's crazy too
they kicked him out.
That Manson never physically killed anyone, right?
That's true.
Manson
no,
never.
Tex Watson did. Maybe he killed one.
No, I think
early.
he was there at the. Well, he killed people early, but I think he went to the La Bianca killings.
Oh, did he?
I think he went to those.
Oh,
I think. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Tex Watson was a naughty boy.
I thought that he didn't like
He
kill
killed
a
people,
person.
like,
he was just directed people.
He killed people before the family thing started.
Oh, okay.
I think he killed Hinman. Charles Hinman,
yeah,
maybe
something.
Yeah.
But I think he may have gone to the La Bianca killings. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, again, this is this very weird world where you do have to. It takes a psychological toll, and I think it took a toll on Michelle. Definitely. I mean, because you have to start. There were nights I would come upstairs, like I'd be downstairs working or writing, and she'd be upstairs working, and then she'd fall asleep, and I'd come up like 11, and she would like wake up like screaming because I'd open a door because she was still running these scenarios.
That's
through
what
her
she
head of
told
how-
you. She dreamt she was married to someone else.
Oh God, I married Spencer King of Queens. Oh God, yeah. So yeah, but there was that. You know, there's just so many.
I want to hear Edmund Kemper's voice real quick because I've seen him interview. I just don't remember his voice.
Would be a guess, but it's not. It's far more than 35.
He had a nice voice.
Isn't that
Close your eyes, it's
impossible in
soothing.
this society?
It really is nice.
Are there more people?
They didn't give up.
Listen to the way he enunciates every word.
Give up.
They
You know what the
didn't
problem
give
is? The giveaway, though, in the blind books is whenever he says the word kill, you can hear him go, oh.
What do you?
And his IQ was through the roof, right? This
He
Kemper.
was really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're smart, but they're smart in that. Like Bundy. Yeah, I mean, they're not exactly Bobby Fishers, but I mean, they're smart guys.
But I
I
think
think they
Kemper
have-
was really smart. I think he was like, wasn't that a big part of him? I thought he was like
Yeah,
high
but
off the charts.
I think they have, you know, a lot of these guys have very high intelligence, but their social antenna is permanently broken.
Yeah.
And that
Which, by the way,
that
is
can
Bobby
leave you
Fischer,
even more
too.
adrift. Oh, Bobby Fischer, yeah, that can leave you even more adrift.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
Yeah.
and that can lead to rage.
Well, it's also
and-
you can when you're that crazy, the way Bobby Fischer went crazy at the end of his
Went
life.
crazy
like,
at the end. I thought that's when he smartened up.
You can. You can. It's a debate worth having.
Yeah, make sure to check out Jim Norton's new one-man show. Welcome home, Bobby Fischer. Good to have you back.
But when you're that nuts and when you're that smart, you can justify to yourself like any of these points of view. Like you can, because once you're smart enough to out-argue anybody, then whatever crazy idea gets into your head, you're like, wait, that's not crazy because this, and this.
And they start getting into this culling the herd mentality of, well, I'm actually making the gene pool stronger.
Right.
Because I'm killing dumber people. You know,
right.
It's that whole...
Dumber, weaker people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
What are you promoting to? AP Bio, you're here to promote that, so I don't want to do it.
Well, I mean, AP Bio, it premieres tomorrow night, March 1st. It's a great show. And I'm also it's weird. I'm in this very strange world where I'm promoting my late wife's true crime book. It's a genuinely terrifying, well-written book, and I'm promoting a fun sitcom. Like it could not be two more, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that premieres tomorrow night on NBC. It's Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He plays a very charming sociopath. Oh, there's your link. He's a charming sociopath.
Right.
Yeah.
He could at some point in the series become a serial killer.
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Does your new wife get jealous if you feel like how does that work when you're married to someone else now?
Right.
It's not like a past
This
relationship
book is
that
so
ended.
amazing. It's not that good.
Well, yeah, but is there any
she
jealousy
know?
at all over feelings or sadness or anniversaries or?
No, I mean my wife. Her name is Meredith Salinger. She's an actress. She's another one of those elevated people that understands. You know, she goes, I would never have wanted you to go through what you went through. I'm not, I know that you're always going to love her. That's, she goes, there's people that I've been with that I still will always love, but but life is about moving forward. We're moving forward together. And she's been so insanely supportive on all this and stepped in with, I had an 8-year-old daughter and she's her mom now, she's her mom. And she just is this, being with someone as extraordinary as Michelle helped me recognize someone as extraordinary as Meredith, and so I really lucked out that way.
Do you have pictures of her in the house?
Of Michelle? No, you know what? I don't have pictures of Michelle. I have like things of hers, but they're in a little area. And then Alice has a little. Every night, right after she died, Alice and I would write. We had this little notebook, and we would write down 3 things we remembered about Michelle, even if they were the most minor. Like just little things, but just to keep this portrait alive. And then a couple weeks ago, Meredith started sitting down with Alice and doing that every night. Like, let's think of some more things about your mom that we can remember. Like, so she's just there, stepping up and help. I mean, she's amazing. She's an amazing.
That is amazing.
Did Meredith have children from a previous relationship? Or?
No.
Okay.
Meredith never got married. She was like, she goes, I've had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of great relationships, but she's like, unless I find someone that I really truly want to be with, she said this really great thing to me. That was so brilliant. She goes, this is a couple years before we met. She was sitting with a friend. They were having lunch. And she had been this really fun relationship, and she's like, he's fun, but not a life with this guy. And then so they amicably broke up, and then her friend, they were having lunch, and her friend was like, wow, I'm really sorry about that. And then Meredith's like, well, but I'm a billionaire. Like, I live no differently than any billionaire. I get up when I want to. I go hang out with my friends. I go, if I want to go get food, I go get whatever food I want. I have enough money. I can do what I want. And goes, I know billionaires who don't have as much freedom and liberty as I do because they're serving all these other things, but I can do whatever I want. Like, this is the best life. I have the best group of friends. I get to hang out with their kids, but then at the end of the day, I get to go home to my own place and do whatever. Like, I'm a billionaire.
That's very close to how a homeless person would describe himself. I get up whenever I want. I can just shit right here.
There you go. I find an empty can and an onion, and I've got soup. Some billionaires can't have onion soup. No, but it was this really good thing of like, oh wait, like you do, especially when you're in our profession, all you're looking at is what other people have and what their status is.
Dude, 100%.
But if you can get outside of that for a second and go, wait a minute, based on the majority of the population, I have made it. I mean, I can do whatever I want. This is great. It's like John Waters said, I never have to work with assholes, so I've won.
You know, it's fun. I was talking to Ari Shafir recently.
I wish I felt that way.
Ari Shafir.
I literally felt myself setting up the spike as I'm like, oh God, one of these guys is going to spike this.
Yes, and me with 27 years of stand-up, I'm like, plow ahead with a boring point. Forge right ahead, stupid, with a non-humorous point. Yeah, but Ari pointed at something like that. I didn't want to make my point. Fuck you, Ari. That was for nothing. Fucking your completely valid points, ruining my comedic moment.
No, what did he say?
It was just something about he did the UFC podcast. He said something about how he's an artist with like the ability to make decisions on exactly what he wants to do, and he never has to do what he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I got to be here, but I really do love this. It's like you look at your life, you're like, it doesn't suck.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be here, but you get to be here because when you're here, you get to say whatever you want.
Yeah,
so
right.
There's not a. If you were on terrestrial radio, you could justifiably go, well, I have to be here.
Yes.
And there's a box I'm in, but you get to be here every morning and just spew whatever you want and get it all out. It's amazing.
Hanging out with people I like.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
easy.
Yeah, and as we saw with certain of your interviews, if there's people that you don't like, you get to tell them you don't like them, and then the interview becomes fascinating.
Yeah, sometimes you have to. I mean, I try not to do that unless there's a reason for it. Like, I don't want to be a dick for no reason.
No, but yeah, but that makes there's been some amazing, and I don't want to name them, but there's been some amazing interviews of like, oh wow, that just went there. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, people usually, when they come in to promote, they're usually okay. But you know, once in a while, and Patton is promoting, Patton Oswalt on Twitter. It's called AP Bio. It's tomorrow night at 8:30 and 9:30 on NBC. They're showing. Is it an hour show?
No, they're just going to show 2 episodes, and the 8:30 is a brand new episode, and then the regular time will be 8:30 on Thursdays.
So what's at 9:30?
9:30 is another. Oh wait, what will be at 9:30 in the future? I don't. Maybe. I don't know. I know that it's Will and Grace and us and I think Superstore. I don't know.
Are you worried that they don't have confidence in the show? I mean, 8:30 p.m. on a Thursday night.
Yeah,
not generally the great time.
No, that's actually a good time.
Oh,
yeah. Yes, always remove humor with a literal point.
I'm a little
Yeah, boy, they're
outside.
not giving you the Glengarry leads here. I hope you do okay.
Patel, I don't want to know the fucking Patel. The Glenn. By the way, do you know what? I don't know what Glengarry Glen Ross. It's one of my favorite films. I still don't know what the Glengarry leads are.
That's the whole point of it. The Glengarry leads are what is glowing inside of the suitcase in Pulp Fiction. What does the Maltese Falcon look like? It's the thing that you can never actually have.
Right.
And the fact that I love that when he holds them out, it's this cheap little effect that they do that they would do in a shitty office like that. They put those little metal ties, like those little photos, but it's gold foil. Like it's that little extra touch of like, these are the Glengarry leads, and we put a fucking little gold foil tile on it, and you'll never get that.
Now, what does Glengarry mean?
I just think it means that these are high volume buyers that always get. But I don't know. Glengarry is either the name of a recruiter or some kind of, or maybe it's a company that finds these people.
Oh, it's not a known thing. Okay,
I took it to mean every goal that we've ever gone crazy trying to get because we think this is the thing that's going to change everything.
Right.
And then even if we were to get it, it wouldn't change.
What's Glen Ross?
Yeah, Glengarry Glen Ross? I don't know. That's the whole thing. It's a thing you can never get and never know.
Right.
I just love the fact that in the movie, Al Pacino plays Ricky Roma, but then when they did the Broadway revival, because Al Pacino has now gotten older, he plays Shelley Levine, and apparently from what I heard, he played it like this broken down, just amazing.
And Cannavale played Ricky Roma in that version.
He did?
Yes, and I actually
wow.
I had tickets to go see the final performance, but being a non-Broadway fucking idiot, I didn't realize that a Sunday is a daytime performance. So I'm thinking I have an 8 p.m. show coming up, and I slept through it. I saw it also with Alan Alda playing Shelley Levine and Liev Schreiber playing Ricky Roma.
So does that mean
Jeffrey Tambor.
How was Alda?
Amazing.
He must have been amazing.
None of them are better than fucking Jack Lemmon, though.
No.
None of them are better.
Does that
than
mean
none of them are better.
Bobby Cannavale got to do our favorite line in anything ever?
Do you know? I
What?
don't know.
Where did you learn your trade, you stupid fucking cunt, you idiot?
Bobby Cannavale read. There's a book by Richard. Oh my God.
Okay.
There's a book called Lush Life. It's a novel by the guy that wrote The Wanderers and Clockers, Richard Price, and he read that novel on tape. He read it. He did the audiobook. It's one of the best audiobooks I've ever read. Bobby Cannavale. If you're listening, Bobby, please record more books on tape because his voice is incredible.
Yeah, that's good. One more thing he's good at. He's fucking great actor.
Exactly.
He's a 9.5, and he's a good voice. Home run, Bob.